Welcome, wheelchair rugby fans from across this great nation of ours and, of course, around the world to the 2018 Canada Cup, coming to you on SportsCanada.TV from the Richmond Oval. I'm Tim Frick. I'm joined by Adam Frost, coach extraordinaire. He's coached all around the world, Japan, Canada, BC, and still working on his coaching at UBC, master's program there. It's Australia versus USA. What a matchup we've got coming, Adam. What should we expect?
Well, good morning, Tim. Thank you for that introduction. Obviously, we have a repeat here of the gold medal game from Rio a couple years back, where Australia won the gold medal in double overtime against US. So I'm expecting to see a fast, actioned, hard-hitting game between these two rivals.
The number 1 ranked team, Australia, against number 2 ranked USA. Australia suffering that 1 try loss last night to Japan. USA with an easy victory over Denmark.
Both of these teams are definitely looking a little bit different than they did in Rio a couple years ago. The US is missing a couple of key high pointers that contributed to their success in Rio, and Australia's lost, or Nazim has retired, and so they're working things out with a couple of new low pointers.
But they've got lots of experience out there, does Team USA, as I believe that was Josh Wheeler scoring the try for the United States to tie it up.
Good defensive pressure by the US there, however, probably a mistimed reach to get Riley out of trouble.
Well, that man, Chuck Aoki, arguably one of the best players in the world. He was the MVP here at the 2016 Canada Cup. He was named Best Class 3 at the 2014 World Championships.
I've certainly noticed a difference in Chuck over the last 4 years. He's certainly taken another step to keep U.S. competitive, very competitive on the international scene.
And that was Riley Batt. We used to call him the Phenom when he was 15, 16, 17 years old back here at the Canada Cup, and now he's a wily old veteran.
Yeah, a wily old veteran. Not very old, not as old as you and I, but certainly been in the sport
That's
for a
true.
long time.
Just 28 years old as he reaches in on Wheeler. And the penalty try awarded.
No free goals, apparently, in this game.
Well, there will be no love lost between these two rivals, I can tell you. And the exciting thing, Adam, of course, in that tournament with no playoffs, to get in the gold medal game, you got to finish first or second. So this game is huge.
Well, it's definitely huge for Australia. If they want to get into the gold medal game, it's probably a must-win game for them.
It is a must-win game, yes.
So
Batt gets the ball over center, stolen by Wheeler.
Yeah,
and back comes the USA to Aoki. He's looking for an opening.
Yeah, our first turnover comes about a minute and a half into the game.
He finds Delagrave, the veteran. And there's Aoki.
So don't like to see turnovers this early in the game when you got all 4 timeouts on the clock. So maybe a little bit of nerves by the Australian mid-pointer.
Well, in that turnover in particular, I don't think the U.S. player really had a chance to call the timeout. They sort of bobbled the ball, so they didn't have possession. Or the Australian player, I should say. And Batt comes back the other way. It's the this is the anagram game, AUS versus USA.
That is exactly.
I get mixed up all the time. As Aoki comes down the right side, he's doubled up, gets the ball over top to Delagrave, and he'll roll in for the easy try.
Yeah, good job by U.S. scoring quick there.
And now it's Edmondson. Back to Batt. Batt looking for an opening, left side. He's got it. Aoki tries to track him down, but will not get there in time.
I'm sure that's not the last time we'll see Riley go coast to coast with the ball. He's so hard to stop once he gets going.
And Australia here playing sort of a mid-point lineup.
to
start this game to match up against the USA.
Yeah, I think that Brad likes to start the balanced lineup. I see it most games. I've never asked him why. My guess is he likes to come in with his top line after keeping the game close. A bit of a psychological warfare.
Well, Coach Dibberly, silver medalist in Sydney as a player in 2000. Been coaching the national team since Beijing. Done a great job.
Yeah, he's done a great job with Australia. They've been competitive since Beijing, and obviously the top team in the world for the last few years.
So Edmondson's set to inbounds for Australia. Gets it to Harrison. Pair of Andrews. Harrison heads down the right side. He's tracked down by Aoki, but the 2-on-1 with Bat. And Harrison with a nice pass there to Bat.
Nice pass. Maybe they crept a little bit too close together for an effective 2-on-1, but at the end of the day, they scored. So
ever the Coach Frost, critiquing the 2-on-1 situation.
Forever.
But you're right. Most teams have done a great job of staying wide in those situations throughout this tournament. Here comes Aoki now, looking for an opening. Bat picked out. Aoki over the top to Josh Wheeler, and he'll score easily for the USA.
Yeah, nice catch there by Josh on a pass that was a little bit behind and obviously over the shoulder.
Harrison now looking for, he finds Fawcett, but the ball is stolen by Aoki, and now there's a penalty.
Penalty on Riley. Yeah, that was a great job by Chuck there to jump into that passing lane, anticipate the exchange between the inbounder and the low pointer.
Well, they like to run that give and go with the low pointer sometimes, and so Aoki really anticipating that one well.
Yeah, second turnover by Australia early here. Could give the US.
Turnover is so critical in these close matches, and Aoki now will direct his team to get ready for defense, as Bat will be harassed coming out of the penalty box.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to have Josh try to trap Riley by himself, see if they can force him to inbound. Give you a big point mismatch.
Right. So that is a tactic used by most teams, is to make one of the receivers, who Bat's normally a receiver, declare themselves as the inbounder.
Yeah, well, when Riley inbounds, being a 3.5 player, that means you've got 8 points on defense versus 4.5 points on offense, which on paper is a good matchup for you.
That's right. Bat able to get free, though. Now he'll go up against Wheeler. Wheeler kind of fakes like he's going to hit him and then turns away, and Bat rolls in easily.
Yep. Looks like Australia is going to bring in their high-low lineup. I guess Brad's had enough with 2 turnovers.
So we're approaching the 4-minute mark of the first quarter. Here comes Delagray for the States. Across the center, nice pass up into Wheeler. Wheeler gets it to Aoki before he takes a hit, and Aoki with the try.
Yeah, nice two-way passing play by the U.S. there. I think that Joe has certainly improved his game over the last couple of years. I thought he struggled leading up to Rio, but seems to be back and on top of his game.
And in for Australia, number 10.
Chris Bond.
Big shout out to Bridie Keane, who will be watching down in Australia. One of my favorite players when I coached wheelchair basketball. And there goes Bat easily. So Bat and Bond, what a combination those two are.
Oh yeah, easily, the best number 1-2 combo in the world right now. Like to keep the ball on the ground, and certainly did there.
They will lose a little bit of average team speed with Ryan Scott in the game, but Scott's a great blocker and picker, so.
Yeah, Ryan Scott and Nazim were, very effective low pointers for Australia over the last quad. And
a nice pass over the top to Chris Bond, and he shows a burst of speed.
Fast break goals. Certainly a staple for a high-low lineup. Hard to defend.
In theory, or as you say on paper, a great idea. And here comes Josh Wheeler for the USA. fakes the pass, then does it over the top to Delagrave, and he will take a bit of time off the clock, waiting for his team to get set up on defense.
Yeah, you know, Australia saw the ball there at center and took a stab at creating a turnover in a danger zone and led to a reasonably easy goal.
And again, Bat takes a hit but gets the ball away early to a streaking Bond up the middle, and Bond will go in for another try.
Well, with Chuck off the court, I think that Australia is going to try its luck here at key defense, see if they can take advantage of this lineup.
A couple of big hits by Bat and Bond, but Wheeler able to elude Ben Fawcett.
It never seems to work when you have two players in the key and two players attack. It just creates too much space and it's too easy for offense to get through.
That's right, especially when you got a balanced lineup as the USA has right now. You got quite a few guys that can handle the ball well.
Yeah.
Riley Bat draws Australia to within one. Possession's so important in this game, Adam. I'm looking forward to you talking about what happens towards the end of the quarter, because that's exciting.
You know, the first 6 minutes and the last 2 minutes are different, definitely different concepts. You know, you want to score quickly through those first 6 minutes, but those last 2 minutes, because the last goals are so important.
That's right.
A lot of clock management really comes into it, and it's difficult for teams to execute because there's a lot more pressure when you have less time.
So Delagrave now handling the ball for the USA, finds Wheeler. Ernie Chun in there for the USA. Chun, his thrill of wheelchair basketball was making the national team, but he is a fast player who plays in a defensive chair, Adam.
Oh, he's incredibly fast for a Class 2. And with that picking bar in the front there, he makes him a very effective defender.
Wheeler to Delagrave. He gets past Fawcett, runs into Bond. 2-on-1 with Wheeler, and Bond sort of ran out of ideas there.
Got to make them pass. Got to make them pass.
Well, that was a dangerous pass. Speaking of passes from Bond to Bat, the USA almost picked that one off.
Yeah, well, I guess Riley and Chris are used to working together. I've seen them execute that play plenty of times.
Well, true, and the veteran Adam Scaturo from Lakewood, Colorado. He's a long-time U.S. player, been on the team for the last 7 years.
I would imagine with Adam and Ernie out there with their speed and their defensive chairs, they'd like to try to get one of those 3-5s tied up. That's probably the philosophy of this lineup.
So Ryan Scott picks up the reaching in foul, and USA will go on the power play, and back into the game, Chuck Aoki.
Chuck's going to be out there, I think, to help manage the clock heading into this last goal situation.
And again, possession's so important. We'll do the probability lesson at halftime probably, but
well, with you know, being a man down, that really allows the U.S. to manage the clock right now, because it's you know, Australia can't afford to take a penalty, so you have to be careful on defense, which is what you don't ever really want to have to be.
So Wheeler backing in to score for the USA, and Bond's got an equipment timeout here. There's a minute 38 to go first quarter. USA up by 2. Australia really needs to manage the clock here too.
Well, particularly since the U.S. is going to have the possession to start the second quarter. If they do manage to score last goal, that's as good as their turnover, because they're going to start with the ball next quarter.
Here comes Riley Bat now, right side. Sees an opening. Scores quickly.
Yep. Now they'll probably try to defend in a way to force the U.S. to take a few seconds off the clock.
So full court pressure from Australia. Aoki finds Scaturo. tracked down by Bat. Tries to turn away from Bat. Does successfully. Gets the ball back to Aoki. He's covered by Scott and Bat. Gets the ball to Wheeler. Back to Aoki. Nice passing by the USA. Aoki covered by Bat. Protects the ball well. US using the clock effectively. Here comes Aoki. You can hear the US team counting the clock down. It goes around the left side, just inside the post.
Yes, US scores with 54 seconds to go, which will help set them up for last goal. That was a nice job by Adam to control the ball there while being pressured by Chris and distribute to his high pointer.
Here comes Chris Bond, covered by Aoki. Nice move to get away from Aoki. Back to Bat. Bat will survey the situation, looks to the bench, picks up the signal from the coach.
Keep out of the key! Keep out of the key! Keep out of the key!
Australia doing their best to leave as little time as possible for the USA to score.
Well, it looks like they're going to take a timeout here and reset the shot clock to 15 to, yeah, you see how important they think last goal is?
Absolutely.
You don't often see this type of tactic in the first quarter.
Yeah, you like to save those timeouts for later in the game when you're going to be in a close one, but you're right, this is a very important point of the game for Australia.
So, look for Australia to try and set up a play here where they don't have to pass the ball. They like to keep the ball on the ground when they attack the key. So
here comes Bat, turns away from Aoki, uses a pick from Fawcett, rolls in with 6 seconds left on the quarter clock. We'll see what the USA can do here.
Yeah, it's a little surprise.
Here comes Aoki. Gets it over to his teammate Chad Cohn, first time in the game. Oh no, sorry, that wasn't Cohn, that was Chuck Melton in the game. And Adam, you were in fact correct. USA unable to score there as Australia used a very smart strategy to get last possession. Yeah,
well, as I mentioned, scoring last goal is tactic used here in wheelchair rugby to try, in this case, keep the score close and not let the U.S. get that extra goal advantage. I thought that, Riley had a lot of space with 6 seconds to go. I thought he might slow the ball down and try and take even more time off the clock.
Last night, remember,
that's right.
At the end of the Japan game, they had a chance to tie it up in overtime, and they ran out of time, so a little bit gun shy maybe.
Yeah, and the way the referees are calling when defense crosses the line, yesterday they put one of the players in the box, so you never know which way they're going to call it, so you can't necessarily afford to take time off the clock when you're sitting on the goal line. You don't want to have to inbound the ball with only a couple seconds to go. It makes it tough on offense. That's right, and we talk a lot about strategy and tactics here, but we also have to talk about our sponsors, Adam. BC Wheelchair Sports Association, Wheelchair Rugby Canada, newly branded, and the International Wheelchair Rugby Federation, of course, really responsible for this event, but they couldn't do it without funding and support from the Government of Canada, the Government of British Columbia, Richmond Sport hosting the Richmond Olympic Oval. And if you get a chance, folks, to get out here to sunny Richmond and see this engineering marvel, do it. Sheraton Vancouver Airport, the Hilton Vancouver Airport, Vancouver Airport Marriott Hotel, Vesco Metalcraft, and Vesco's having that live auction at the end of the tournament. They sponsor a lot of players here in the tournament, but they're having that live auction for a complete wheelchair rugby kit, including the chair, Hollister, and the local 258 of the IBEW. Yeah, big thanks to all of the sponsors. It takes a lot of work and money to put on events like this, and wouldn't be possible without them. So Australia, Chris Bond doing a great job of getting a tie up there. And that is a huge possession change. So turnover, obviously, exactly what Australia wanted at the beginning of the quarter here. And now they're going to be able to have the opportunity to score to tie the game up, and that's what they do. That's exactly what they do, as Bond inbounds the ball to Bat, and then the give and go as Bat finds a wide open Bond. And Australia is doubling one of the U.S. players with their 2 low pointers, and they're going to trust that Riley and Chris can defend 2-on-3. And they do. Hit. Look at that.
Big hit by Riley Batt on Joe Delagrave, and Delagrave not able to corral that pass from Aoki.
Yeah, that was a great effort there by Riley to...
He just came flying out of nowhere. Delagrave amazingly stayed upright. It was Batt that went flying. I'm not sure whose ball it's going to be here.
It's going to be Australia ball. They blew the whistle down because Chris had the ball, was wheeling towards Riley, and they call it a dangerous situation.
So Australia with a tremendous play.
And yeah, so from being down one and to being up one.
Just like that. It's all about possessions and turnovers, and wisely played by Team Australia. And you know, you can see why they're ranked #1 in the world.
Yeah.
They've won the last World Championship and Paralympics.
Yeah.
So here comes Delagrave.
You don't often see the U.S. team have back-to-back turnovers. So great job by Australia.
And some big hits by Team Australia. O'Reilly Batt heads to the penalty box, and it'll be a power play for USA. Here comes Aoki now. He'll use a little bit of time as he waits for his team to get set up and what they want their next defense to look like.
Are they going to? Yeah, it looks like they're going to try and trap Riley and see if they can get him to inbound again.
He got free last time they tried this maneuver, and we'll see what happens now. He calls for an equipment timeout. The wily old veteran.
What's the matter? Is the tape loose on his arm?
Yeah, that's right.
how
Riley Batt out of Port Macquarie in New South Wales, plays for the Gladiators down there. He, as I mentioned, was MVP of the 2014 Canada Cup. I don't know if I actually did mention that. And making a strong case for himself. I think he may have been a little bit injured at the 2016 Canada Cup, if I remember. He was a little bit subpar, but he looks tremendous here.
There were rumors of a bit of a shoulder issue, but
an undisclosed upper body injury.
Yeah, hockey terminology
right.
there in wheelchair rugby.
And there goes Riley Batt with yet another try, and Australia with the lead here. 6:49 to go, second quarter. Scaturo to inbound for the USA. Finds Delagrave, I think that is. Over the top to Aoki. Hits his own man. Hit by Bond, hit by Batt, and nice pick.
Great job by Chuck there to control the ball with a lot of pressure from behind. It's much harder to control your wheelchair when somebody's popping it from behind than it looks, especially at those speeds.
Scaturo and the rookie Jake or no, that's not Jake Daly, sorry, that's Talbot Kennedy. Oh, he is a rookie. With a great pick there on Aoki. So here comes Batt. Gets away from a couple of U.S. players, find a wide open Bond over the top.
Yeah, so hard to stop Riley, and you know, you got to send 2, 3, 4 defenders down there, and that's going to leave somebody open.
And here comes Aoki now. Australia back in that half-court zone defense. They may extend. We've seen them extend a little bit with Batt and Bond. Here comes Aoki now. Crossing, looking for an opening, crosses back. Still looking for an opening, and there he finds one, created by teammate Adam Scaturo.
Yeah, he managed to draw all 4 of the Australian defenders over to that far cone, which opened up this whole half of the court.
Batt inbounds to Bond. Bond with an over-the-head pass to Riley Batt, and he recognized the speed mismatch.
Yeah, you can pretty much put the ball anywhere you want, and Riley's going to track that down pretty easily.
And the USA with a hockey change.
That's right. All 4 for 4.
That's what it looks like.
Is this Lee Fredette's first action of the game? I think
it
is.
may be Fredette and Jake Daly, the rookie, into the game.
Yeah. Yeah, Coach Gumby is obviously getting his whole bench into the game, which is important, I suppose, in the development of your squad.
Wheeler thought that he had Chuck Melton open, passed it over the top. Instead, it's picked off by Bond. Huge turnover.
Yeah, good job by the low pointer there to tie him up, and which leads to that turnover.
And instead of taking the 2-on-1 at him there, Riley Batt came up, set the pick on Wheeler, and allowed teammate Bond to roll in for the score.
Yeah, crack block. I mean, I suppose if you don't have to pass the ball, you would prefer not to. Much safer to just wheel with it on your lap.
I'm pretty sure you've done some statistical research and decided that most turnovers occur from passes as opposed to the ground game.
I had the pleasure of counting passes from 4 games in Rio recently for a project I was done, and I've determined that there were 900 passes made in the semifinals, bronze and gold game in Rio. So lots of good times there, I can tell you.
And Chris Bond will take a bit of time as Australia gets a chance to set up what kind of defense they're going to run into right away here. Fredette inbounds to Chuck Melton. Oh, and there's a over and back call. A nice hit by Bond to set that one up.
Yeah, you've got to be more aware of where you are on the court and who's coming at you. You know, don't want to have those kind of turnovers if you don't have to.
So USA with some uncharacteristic turnovers in this second quarter. 4:50 to go. Riley Batt looking for an opening. He'll cross to the far side. Comes back looking for a pick from Fawcett or Scott. Doesn't get it. Time running down on the 40-second clock. As that ball tipped out of, we just talked about turnovers. That one was from the ground game.
Yeah. You know, Riley was running around there. There was nothing opened up and lost focus for a moment. They were able to get the ball back.
He exposed the ball and the quick hands of the U.S. defender. Aoki now turns away from Bond. Hit by Batt. He's got Wheeler open. They've got the 2-on-1, a hit from behind by Bond. And that'll be a
Riley was out of bounds.
penalty try.
No,
Will it?
It's going to put him in the box, it looks like. Yeah.
Oh, just a penalty.
Penalty, yeah.
The referee deemed, I guess, that the try was not imminent. So Riley Batt heads back to the penalty box. And you know, most of the time you don't want your best player to take penalties, but in wheelchair rugby, it seems like a penalty is going to result in a score anyway. So why not take the gamble?
Yeah, well, I mean, in that situation, I don't think there was any risk to taking a penalty. It's not like the U.S. was in any trouble, and the only time this really hurts you is if Riley is forced to inbound the ball, and then they end up turning the ball over on the inbound.
So with Batt and Bond in the game, Riley Batt doesn't hesitate to call inbounder because he knows that Bond will be able to get free. Although the U.S. doing a great job of bottling him up, but Delgrave unable to stop him. Aoki trying to track him down. He does. Great play by Chuck Aoki, but there's Riley Batt for the try.
It's so hard to keep any of these high pointers, amputees tied up for a long period of time. You saw there, you know, you can take a few seconds off the clock, but 10 seconds, eventually they're going to get open.
40 seconds is a long time. Yeah. Aoki now with the ball. He's covered by Batt. Up over top for Wheeler. Wheeler tracks it down nicely and scores the try.
Yeah, Josh is another pretty quick 2.5. Able to track that down.
Here comes Riley Batt now. He's stopped, but you can't stop Chris Bond. The pass over the top. Delgrave doesn't even try to lay a hit on him. And Riley Batt will not waste time. He'll use the time wisely to allow his team to get set up on defense.
And energy conservation, I think, is.
It is a long, tough game when you're get hit and hit as many times as a player like Riley Batt. As Aoki now, left side, eludes Bond. Nice pick by Wheeler and Delagrave. Aoki looking for an opening. He sees Wheeler on the left side. Nice pick by Delagrave.
Yeah, once again, they sort of draw the U.S. team over to the far cone and are able to find a little bit of space here on the near side.
But again, the quickness of Riley Batt gets open for that pass over the top.
It's nice to be able to score the majority of your goals in 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds.
Yeah, must be frustrating sometimes when you're a coach out there you got to work like crazy to get your goal or your try, and then the other team comes back and gets an easy one. And
yeah, I've spent many an evening trying to figure out how I'm going to stop the combo of Riley Batt and Chris Bond.
Aoki now turns away from Riley Batt. Nice pick by Delagrave. Eludes the backing up hit by Bond, and Chuck Aoki having a tremendous game here for the USA.
And he's such a solid player. Like I said, I think that he's really improved his game quite a bit since London, and you know, he's definitely the leader of the U.S. team.
Batt is stopped by Aoki, looking for an opening. Stopped by Aoki again, over the top to Bond, and there's a turnover. Nice tip by Delagrave, and Wheeler ends up with the ball. Tipped away, but now Delagrave gets the ball, and we've got a player timeout on the court with 2:03 to go, second quarter.
Yeah, great key defense there by the U.S. to create turnover, and then a little bit sloppy afterwards. But at the end of the day, they end up with the ball and use a timeout to ensure that they're not going to turn it back over.
So now it's the USA's turn to use some of that strategy, and while they're plotting, we'll also rethank a couple of sponsors. Government of Canada, of course, the Government of BC, Province of British Columbia, Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, Richmond Sport Hosting, longtime sponsor, and of course the Richmond Olympic Oval. And
So
nothing would be possible without the great support of SportsCanada.TV.
Yep.
There's Aoki now, uses a pick from Wheeler. Bond goes over top of that pick though. Aoki, it's a 3-on-2 for USA. Great job by Batt and Bond, but Aoki finds an opening and scores the try.
Yeah, you know, most of the time, once the ball crosses half, you don't want to stay on a double team. But the U.S., the high pointers are so good on defense that Australia can afford to do that.
So Riley Batt and Chris Bond combined there. With some good block by Bond and the score by Riley Batt. And back comes Delagrave over top to Wheeler. Wheeler hit by Bond, hangs on nicely though. Safety pass back to Delagrave. He's looking for Aoki.
I think
Uses
they might,
a pick from Butler.
looks like they're going to manage the clock here and work last goal again.
Here comes Aoki now. He's tracked down by Batt. Now Bond. Aoki finds an opening, crosses left side, hooked by Bond. Nice pass inside to Delagrave for the try.
Yeah, 52 seconds to go on the clock here. Should allow them to score last goal if they choose to do though.
So a couple of turnovers late in the quarter, and the USA right back in this one. Less than a minute to go. Here comes Chris Bond. He's got Batt wide open. Batt setting picks for Bond. And if you're wondering why they're not scoring immediately, Coach Frost here will explain that to you.
Well, I'm not quite sure, but I think they're going to try and score the last goal again. I'm interested to see if they're going to use another timeout like they did at the end of the first quarter. It looks like that's the plan. Yeah.
And they do, as the Australia bench is counting down the time, letting their players on the court know what's going on. So USA had a plan there, but Australia's not had to use those timeouts to get them out of a jam, so they can use them for last second
Yeah.
strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, 4 seconds to go. It's going to be awfully tough for the U.S. to score. I'm sure they'll just play it safe here.
Well, Bond will stay up, force the USA to pick up the ball. Aoki's going to give it a shot. Under a second, and he just runs out of time as a nice block by Ryan Scott out of Brisbane. The veteran Scott.
Yeah, Chuck
He's
tried
played in 5 Paralympic games as Ryan Scott. So that'll do it for the first half, Adam. We are looking at a 26-25 lead here for Team Australia. Now, if you're Coach Duberly and you're Coach Gumbert for the United States, what is it you're saying to your team at the halftime here? I mean, we're in a real tight match. It's a must-win for Australia.
Well, if I'm the U.S. coach, the positives that I'm looking at is the fact that, you know, it's our ball to start the half. So in essence, it is a tie game. We played a lot of our bench in that third quarter. So there were a few turnovers early, but the fact that we were able to keep the game close and use everybody is a positive. And you know, with the Australian team, you know, they're firing on all cylinders. You know, they're scoring quick goals. There's lots of pressure on defense. So, you know, I think both coaches are probably happy with the way the game's going and sending the same, you know, just continue to play the same way.
Turnovers, of course, playing a huge part in this game, and as well as clock management. But talk to us about turnovers here. Early in the game, it was USA that was guilty of a few. Later on, it was Australia guilty. What's going to happen in the second half now for each team to manage those turnovers?
Well, it really will boil down to how the coaches decide to use their benches again, right? Like, I mean, it's such a possession-oriented game, and turnovers are so huge. You know, both teams have lots of timeouts on the clock still, so you really want your guys to make good decisions and not make a lot of high-risk plays to keep the game as close as possible.
And talk about the hitting now. I noticed in some of the earlier games, particularly when the Canadians are playing, you know, when they're hitting hard and they're hitting just as someone's about to pass, that's when they seem to get those passing turnover opportunities. Australia seems to be hitting more than U.S. in this game.
Well, I mean, they've with the speed and the power of the Australian players, that doesn't surprise me. You know, because of the types of disabilities that these athletes have and the hand and the trunk impairment, the harder you can make it to pass and catch those balls, the more success you're going to have. So you really want to be pressuring people at those critical moments to give your your team the best opportunity to create turnovers. And I'm sure we'll see plenty more of that as we move forward.
Alrighty, as we look forward to second half action coming up in a couple of minutes, we'll just mention Australia, ranked number 1 in the world. They are the defending world and Paralympic champions. They've been to, of the 8 Canada Cups, they've now been to 7. Finished on the podium 4 times, and I'm sure they're looking forward to that opportunity here as well. They were second in the Quad Nations Cup in March over in Great Britain. They lost by 1 try to USA. Did you get a chance to watch any of those on the webcast, Adam?
I was able to watch a little bit of it. We were busy with another event at that time, the Vancouver Invitational, a local tournament that we host here in Vancouver, was happening. Plus, with the games happening in GB, they're a little bit ahead of us, so kind of interferes with your sleep a bit.
Yeah. And we all know how important it is, sleep for coaches. The athletes can do what they want, but us coaches, we got to get our sleep.
That's right.
On the American team, on the other hand, they really are the most decorated team in the world in the history of wheelchair rugby.
Yeah.
They are always on the podium. They won that Quad Nations tournament. They won the 2017 zone tournament, defeating Canada, of course, ranked second. They've actually won 5 Canada Cups. They've only been here, well, this will be their 6th appearance, and so they're looking to keep that record intact.
Yeah, the U.S. team has easily been the most consistent team in the world since the game was invented. They're always in the top 3 You know, it's a kudo to their system and their club system. You know, their club league is as competitive as any, and it shows.
Well, a lot of players from around the world, particularly Japan, come over to play in the USA. A lot of our Canadian players play down there, and I should mention too, just before the second half gets underway, that the Canadian Paralympic team on Facebook, just Google or whatever they call it on Facebook to search for the Canadian Paralympic team. They are linking up all these games live. So if you're a Facebook fan, you can watch them all, courtesy of the Canadian Paralympic team. Of course, you can go to our Canada Cup WC Rugby website and watch on SportsCanada.TV.
That's right. Enjoy the games at home, and if you're local, please come down and watch. There's going to be some great action over the next couple of days.
And the USA, with that first possession of the second half, scores early to tie it up. Australia now forced to call a player timeout as they double team Riley Batt by the looks of it.
Yeah, so that was a great deny by the U.S. Australia's gone back to their balanced lineup, and they were able to what we call a double single, and not allow Australia to get the ball in.
So double teaming the primary receiver and then singles on the other two.
That's right.
And Batt now finds Harrison. He's hit hard by Wheeler. Harrison hangs on though. Hands it off to Batt. Batt's in a bit of trouble here. Gets it over the top to Edmondson. Back to Batt. A little bit of space now for Batt. Got the opportunity to score, but cut off by Aoki and Jake Howe. Or, sorry, not Jake Howe. That's Adam Scaturo. And that pass goes awry.
Yeah,
I think that's a huge turnover.
Yeah, good key defense by the U.S. team there. I think that, you know, Riley probably was a little ill-advised to make that pass. Probably could have taken a little bit more time and made sure that it was a little more accurate.
Aoki with the long lead pass to Josh Wheeler.
And the U.S. takes the lead for the first time since the beginning of the second quarter there.
Wheeler was named the best 2.5 at the 2012 Canada Cup. He's a veteran of the game out of Tucson, plays for University of Arizona Wildcats. And back comes Batt. Looks for an opening, crosses past Harrison, or Edmondson, I should say. Turns away, looking for another opening. Sees one between Wheeler and Aoki. Not enough space, though. Great defense by the USA, Coach Frost.
Great defense, and I would say probably, I'm not quite sure exactly what play Australia is trying to run there. Riley's pretty active, but all the rest of his teammates are sitting still.
There's no movement, not forcing the American defenders to move either.
That's right.
While we're talking, nice pass over the top to Chuck Aoki.
Yeah.
And the USA opens up a 2-goal lead.
Yeah. No, it's key offense really takes timing and teamwork. And,
Batt goes 1-on-4. Wow, he beats Chad Cohn and then goes around the corner inside the post. And back come the USA. Nice pass over the top. Wheeler to Aoki, and he'll score easily. And it's the USA's turn to get some of those easy tries.
They seem to have a bit of momentum right now. I'm wondering if the Australian team's a little bit shaken up by those 2 turnovers.
Here comes Edmondson. He's got a 2-on-1 with Batt. They cross, hit from behind. Nice D by USA, great recovery. Here comes Batt now, looking for an opening. Creates a bit of space for himself so he can get some speed. Left side, looking at the middle. Stopped by Wheeler and Aoki. Nowhere to go. And Australia, as you mentioned, in a bit of trouble here, and that pass tipped by an American player, so Australia will retain possession, Adam, with 7 seconds left on the 40-second clock.
Yeah, so once again, Riley moving around quite a bit, but his outlets remaining stationary. And the U.S. just isn't biting. You know, one of the things you want to do when you're attacking the key is try and get that defense moving around. And if they're not, nothing is going to open up.
And the USA putting their higher point players in the key.
And you know, I think Riley's affected by that. I mean, he's just trying to do it all himself there.
And he's got Chris Bond back in the game. But the USA putting veteran Chad Cohn as the chaser.
Oh.
Here comes Bond now, and they've managed to get a bit of space there, of course.
Well, Australia get that turnover back, which will keep this game close.
5:07 to go, third quarter. Ball into Chuck Aoki. He's looking for some room. Now he looks for Josh Wheeler, and he is shadowed by Chris Bond.
That's right. Yeah. But another fast break goal by the U.S. Australia's going to have to tighten up a little bit on defense, I think, make it a little more hard for them.
So they're doing a great job of forcing Fawcett to make a bump pass inside to Bond. Nice play by Bond to pull that one in. He's tracked down by Wheeler. Riley Bat setting picks like crazy, and here comes Bond. Again, the Australian offense a little stagnant. Riley Bat trying to force the U.S. player out of bounds.
Yeah, he's been in the key.
He's got to get out of the key, though. You're right. Chris Bond still with the ball. Looks for an opening. Nothing on the right side. Shut down by Scaturo. And finally finds a bit of space and scores a try. Nice move by Fawcett there to hold Scaturo out of the play.
Yeah, you know, Australia is finally able to score against the U.S. key. But once again, individual efforts, not really working together as a team.
Here comes Aoki now. He gets away from Chris Bond. Nice move. He's going to be hit hard by Bat, but wisely passes well in advance of that hit up to Josh Wheeler.
Yeah, it was a nice pass by Chuck. That's, you know, when your teammate is in the middle of the court like that and turning, it's difficult to actually make a good pass to him. And that was well done by Chuck.
So some of these players who have sort of rotation in their trunk tend to get a little bit lazy. Instead of going wide, they end up in the middle of the court.
Yeah, passing lane, C-curls, we call them C-curls up the court. I think you call them banana curls in wheelchair basketball, do you know?
Or J-cuts. Or
J-cuts, yeah.
Flash and fly.
Flash and fly, I've never heard that one before.
Here comes Josh Wheeler for the USA now. U.S. up by 1, 3:47 to go. Third quarter. It's a 2-on-1 with Scaturo. Scaturo sets the pick on Riley Bat, and Wheeler rolls in for the easy try. Easy for Wheeler, hard for Scaturo.
That's right, that's right.
Back comes Chris Bond now, tracked down by Aoki. Aoki tries for the steal. Back to Riley Bat. A little bit of space now for Australia, and in comes Chris Bond.
Good angles on defense there by the U.S. team to force Australia to turn back, but
you can't give guys like Bat and Bond space, though.
No.
Speaking of space, back comes Aoki over the top to Josh Wheeler, and Aoki hit Bond after that pass and just about took him down. Good hits here by both teams in the third quarter.
So the U.S. is back in the key again, so we're looking for Australia to work together a little bit better, see if they can attack the key.
Bat is open in the key, but Bond not able to get him the ball. Now he does.
Yeah, scored there. If I were to be hypercritical, I'd say that Riley was in the key a little bit early. Probably wants to make sure that Chris can get by that chaser. You know, the first step in attacking the key is make sure that chaser is controlled. And if you don't do it, I mean, creates a whole bunch of trouble for you in the long run.
Chad Cohn, that chaser, has got a good long reach, but Bond with a bit more maneuverability as the Americans come right back over the top to Aoki to regain that 2-try lead.
It looks like the U.S. is going to continue to get back in the key here. I guess they are happy with the success they've been happening, so why not?
But was very successful until Chris Bond showed up, and there's a bit more space now. Bond and Riley Batt. I think Riley Batt actually pushed one of the Americans over the line, did he not?
It looks like he might have.
Otherwise, he was in front of Bond, so.
It's hard to tell from this angle.
No, actually, that he was in front of. Oh no, he wasn't. It's still that goal did, or that try did count.
Yeah.
There's Chuck Melton now, or Adam Scaturo, I should say, for the United States. Scaturo scored 6 tries in that easy victory over Denmark last night for the U.S.
Yeah.
Bond with a long pass over top to Batt, a race for it. Aoki collides with Batt, and the referee will signal Australia ball. Aoki doesn't like that call.
No, I think he felt it went off Riley, but at the end of the day, the referee is always right.
And great sportsmanship by Aoki there. He protested initially and then quickly realized that he wasn't going to do any good. So
no, you don't very
get back on defense. A bit of a smile there.
Yeah.
And here comes Batt and Bond creating some space for themselves. Trying to create some movement in that U.S. defense. They do. And Riley Batt able to power past Chuck Melton.
It does make a difference when you attack together, and I thought they did a much better job of that on that possession.
There's more movement in the Australian offense now.
Yeah, and
Melton.
U.S. is going to be in trouble here.
Back to
Nice.
Aoki, back to Melton over the top. He's hit by Bond from behind. You double team now. Great job of hanging onto the ball. No foul called as Australians are reaching in. Delagrave now over to Aoki, and Australians with the double team, that leaves an open U.S. player.
Yeah, a lot of pressure there on defense, and a nice job by Chad Cohn to pick before the ball crossed half to allow that play to happen.
Australia now, minute 25 to go. Batt and Bond again, looking to draw within 1. A little bit of space right side, and Melton, great pick I think by, is that Fawcett down there in the corner?
Yep. Yeah,
Oh no, Michael Ozane is into the game.
It's hard to tell. They have the same beard.
It's hard to say, yeah, when they have the same beard and the 6 and the 8 kind of wrinkles up, it's hard to tell what it is. That is exactly what it is. Big hit there, and Aoki will be tracked down by Riley Batt and Chris Bond. He holds on as long as he can to get that last possession.
Yeah, so Australia's down to its last timeout and 55 seconds to go here. I'm interested to see if they hold on for last goal again for the 3rd quarter in a row.
Riley Batt is bottled up by 3 Americans, gets it over the top to Chris Bond. He will score right away, and the Americans now with a chance for last possession.
Yeah, Australia's going to start the ball in the 4th quarter, assuming there's no jumps the rest of the way. So
Melton hit by Chris Bond. Stopped by Ozane.
U.S. is in trouble.
And the U.S. had to call a timeout, yes.
Yeah, they weren't quite at their 12, but they had nowhere to go. So probably a smart timeout at this stage in the game. You certainly don't want to turn the ball over here if you don't have to.
Well, the turnover at this point would have been really a 2-try sort of shift, because you lose the one you're going to get and the other team gets one.
Yeah, well, you turn
it's
over.
It's a +2 turnover.
Australia would definitely have gone for last goal, I would imagine, if you turn the ball over there. So
the American team choosing to use their timeout as a group, and the Australians staying out on the court to maintain chair position, presumably, Coach Frost.
Yeah, you want to pick them up coming off the bench, get a good transition here, see if you can create a turnover off the inbound, you have a man advantage at this point in the game, so might as well take a shot. You just don't want to take a penalty because that'll guarantee last goal.
Delagrave finds Aoki. For some reason, the referee is restarting this play. They're resetting the clock to 35.1 seconds.
Yeah, you don't usually see the team on offense not take the timeout while the team on defense does. Confused me there for a second.
Jeff Butler set to inbound for the USA. Finds Delagrave.
Nice weapon that the U.S. have that, having a .5 inbound. He's got such good range, and it really allows you for a lot of options.
Aoki now with the ball. Again, it's the 3-on-2 situation. Josh Wheeler now. Bat and Bond doing everything they can to create a turnover, but
did the U.S. use a timeout call to give them?
So they will get the full game clock now at 13.4. So the 15 seconds is a moot point.
15 seconds is a moot point, but it's longer than the 10 seconds they had prior. So
that is true. Here comes Aoki now. Uses the pick from Delagrave. Bat eludes that pick. He's picked again by another USA player. And of course, I didn't see the number. That was Aoki scoring right side just inside the post. And Australia with no time left to try to score. And it'll be
nice job by U.S. and Chuck there to score with only a couple seconds left
to maintain that two-try lead. That's a huge lead. Coach Adam Frost joining me here on SportsCanada.TV. We'll take a moment to thank the Sheraton Vancouver Airport Hotel, Hilton Vancouver Airport Hotel, Vancouver Airport Marriott Hotel, and of course a number of our other great sponsors. Vesco Metalcraft, they make custom rugby wheelchairs. Of course, they sponsor a lot of the players in this tournament, and they are having a live auction. So if you're anywhere near Richmond, British Columbia on Sunday afternoon, get out here and you'll be able to bid on that full wheelchair rugby kit from Vesco Metalcraft. I think it's worth over $10,000.
Yeah, it's fantastic of Vesco to sponsor that for us. And, Chuck and Troy are up here for the tournament. They were helping out yesterday with BC Wheelchair Sports' fundraiser. And
the push for impact, of course. We'll also thank Hollister for their medical and continence care company that support these events, and Local 258 of the IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Engineers, another great sponsor, Adam. And what are you looking forward to now in this fourth quarter? It's a must-win situation for Australia. They're down by 2 tries. Do they gamble or do they just stay with the program?
Well, as a fan of the sport, what I'm hoping for is for Australia to create a turnover to make it a tie game, so it's as tight as possible heading down the stretch there. Yeah, I think that you'll see Australia put a lot of pressure on the U.S. team here and try and create a turnover and ultimately attempt to win the game.
And they will they stay with the high-low lineup, or will they go back to balance?
I'd be surprised if we see balance this way, this late in the game, but we'll see how it goes. It looks like they're going to run their high-low to start the quarter here. Really getting these new .5s a lot of game time, so they're ready for Worlds in a few weeks.
Which Australia, by the way, is hosting in August down in Sydney.
Beautiful city if you've never been.
And Riley Bat draws Australia to within 1 with the first possession of the fourth quarter. And this is the final quarter of this very important round-robin matchup, coming to you live on SportsCanada.TV. A couple of big hits there by Bat and Bond, but the Americans hanging on, and Aoki will sneak inside the left post.
Yeah, nice job by Josh there to make a play under all that pressure and get the ball to Chuck.
Riley Bat now back for Australia. he sees an opening, give that guy space, and boy, oh boy, is he quick.
Yeah, nobody quite like him in the game, that's for sure.
Back comes the USA. Aoki finds an opening left side. Now he's got a 2-on-1 with Wheeler against Bat, and the Americans scoring those easy tries now on the fast break as Australia looking to gamble a little bit, I guess, and force turnovers. Back comes Chris Bond for Australia.
I just want to point out what a great job you're doing using the word try. I'm not quite used to it yet. I'll probably still say goal from time to time.
That is a recent rule change, and of course the sport of wheelchair rugby invented here in Canada, and it's always, as is any sport, undergoing rule changes. And Riley Bat there with a nice pass over the top to Chris Bond, the Hail Mary.
Yeah, well,
over the shoulder catch.
If we want to partner up with in the able-bodied rugby world, I think the closer we can make our games, and if a little bit of language change helps, then I'm all for it.
And another big hit by Riley Bat on Aoki, but he gets the ball away to Wheeler, who wisely stays wide on that. Now there's contact before the ball is inbounded, so what's the rule on that, Adam?
So I believe that is the first warning for Australia in the second half. So as long as they don't do that again, there'll be no consequences. But if this was their second warning, it would be a turnover, which obviously would have a big impact at this moment of the game.
It looked like Riley Bat was arguing that perhaps the inbounder had the ball.
Well, the referee's got to blow the whistle, so they cannot make contact before the whistle's blown. Riley absolutely did make contact and created a bit of an advantage by knocking Josh out of his chair, so not sure he's got much of an argument about the call.
Well, it's worth a try. And back comes the aforementioned Bat. Saw an opening. It was closed up nicely by Wheeler. Again, Wheeler with some great defense, combining with Scaturo. There's the pass inside to Bond, and that movement that time, when they were static, there was nothing, but when they crossed and moved, it created some space.
Yeah, movement does force defense to have to adjust, and that allows you to create those 2-on-1s in the key, which allowed Australia to score there.
So Aoki will take a bit of time off the clock here, allow his team to get set up on defense. They're going back to that half-court zone defense with Scaturo, I should say Cone as the chaser, and now they switch it up and go full court. And then scurry back again into the key, so some defensive changes by the USA, but it did allow a little bit of an opening though for Chris Bond.
Yeah, I think that, in my opinion, with Riley and Chris being so difficult to stop in open court, why not defend your goal? That's where they got the least amount of space, and we've all seen this morning that they've been struggling to score. So it seems like a good tactic by Coach Gumby to have his team do that.
I'm not sure whether that was a defensive switch to try to throw the Australians off that time, or whether it was a mistake in the defensive call. But
well, you're always making adjustments as to what you see on the court. So, but at the end of the day,
I think Aoki was doubled down there, though, so that may have been the reason. And a must-win situation, coach, for Team Australia here. They're down by 1. USA, though, with the ball, and here comes the Wheeler left side, tracked down by Bat. He's hit by Bond, gets the ball away, though, over the top to Aoki. And he will score easily.
Taking a few seconds off the clock.
As Ben Fawcett doesn't put up much of a resistance there.
See, here's a good situation where U.S. might want to leave their key because it's going to be awfully tough to stop Riley with Chuck trapped way down by the goal.
And smart play by Australia to check Chuck.
That's a good transition. Good transition.
That's right.
Check Chuck.
And
say
here
that
comes
fast.
the aforementioned Aoki, looking for an opening, finds one. And nice pick by Cone.
Yeah, it seems like the U.S. is scoring pretty easily. I think the U.S. or Australian team need to find a more effective press if they're going to create some turnovers.
Well, time will soon be their enemy as we've just passed the 5-minute mark.
Speak of the devil, they have decided to key up rather than press, so we'll see if this can be effective for them.
So they want to force passes, though. So the hitting game has not worked, as you've aptly pointed out. And here comes Chuck Aoki now for USA up against the American zone. He's got Wheeler in front of him. Finds Cone. Cone backs in. And we heard the Australian coach calling for the in and out. Adam, explain to the viewers what that rule is. Or
Well,
the out and in, really.
In and out is almost as it sounds. You know, in order to score a goal in wheelchair rugby, any two wheels of your wheelchair have to cross the line. But if one of them touches the line and then comes back out, that's a no goal and turnover. It's a good job by Australia to force the ball into, you know, you really want to force the ball into the hands of the number 4 if you can, which they did. And, you know, Tad did a good job of scoring.
Well, Aoki now with the ball. He uses Scaturo's pick. Bat tried to track him down. Instead, he gets the ball just past Bond to Josh Wheeler, and the U.S. maintains that 2-try lead.
Yeah, Australia, well, it's really one turnover away from making this a tie game, so 4 minutes to do that, so we'll see if it can happen. Good
Big
movement.
hit by Chris Bond on the cross, and that time Aoki, the chaser, was caught out of position, left a bit of space in the key.
Yeah, that's Australia's bread and butter, that play there, where, you know, Riley and Chris cross the key together and create a 2-on-1 up the middle and just wheel straight through. Looks like Coach Gumby is going to use a bench timeout and make a substitution here.
James Gumbert out of Cedar Park, Texas. I believe he still plays a little bit in his spare time.
Does he? Well,
Not
he's
quite
more,
sure,
more
but,
active than me then.
Certainly, certainly started out his career as a player for USA, assistant coach in 04, and then took over the reins, won gold in 08 and 2010, of course, and since then. He's a 4-time Paralympic coach, very successful, really tremendous job by Coach Gumbert. He was also in the movie Murder Ball, I think.
Yeah, well, that was filmed 2002 to 2004. He was the assistant coach of the team during that time, as you mentioned, and is in the movie, which I've seen a couple of times.
Gets a movie credit for that.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got medals and a credit.
Yeah.
So here comes USA now. We'll see what adjustments they've made. Aoki, following the pick of Jeff Butler. Aoki and Wheeler trying to work a cross play against Bat and Bond, and it works very effectively.
Yep. U.S. getting back in the key.
So the chaser will be Butler, the low pointer, in that defensive chair. Here comes Riley Bat. Bond finds an opening, but Bat not able to get him the ball.
Yeah, I mean, Bond sets up a as an outlet on the far cone. Riley really needs to bring the ball towards us to create that passing lane on that 2-on-1, and he chose to go to the far cone, but still they score.
Bond did attract some attention there in the middle, which did open up that left side post. So
yeah.
We've got a flat tire. Now, what is the rule on the equipment timeout? Because sometimes it's called right away and sometimes it's not.
Well, in my opinion, I think the referee probably should not have blown the play down there.
I think the American player was clear of the chair there.
Yeah, I think that, you know, maybe advantage, the rule, you know, the concept of advantage should be given to the offensive team there. But at the end of the day, you stop the play. You can't go back in time.
So the Australians choosing to double Josh Wheeler deep in the court, allowing the 3-on-2 situation. And Aoki scores. I believe that was Aoki. Hard to tell. I got these new bifocals, and every once in a while I lift my head and everything's blurry.
Well, there are a few obstacles between the goal line
right.
and us at that angle.
Back comes Riley Batt. Bond with that crossing pick again. A little bit of space. Nice pick by Fawcett on Aoki. And Riley Batt in unscathed. 1 point game, 3 minutes to go. Here comes Aoki for the States. Right side, passes over the top to Josh Wheeler, to Delagrave, and the 3-on-2 that time had a lot of space.
It did have a lot of space. You know, that Josh had to make a catch right on center line. If Chris could have been a little bit more aware, there was an opportunity to force him to make a play in a danger zone.
Here comes Riley Batt now for Australia. A little bit stagnant on offense is Team Australia. Aoki reaches in, not able to get the ball. Fawcett with a little pick on the right side. Instead, the pass inside to Bond for the try.
Yeah, Australia doing a better job of scoring against the key here. Haven't seen a turnover in a while.
Delagrave over the top of Bond to Aoki, and Australia's had to work hard at their end for tries. USA's had a couple of easy ones the last 2 times down.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of pressure in the on this side of the court by the Australian defense. They're going to have to find a way to create a turnover here in the next couple of minutes, though, because they're running out of time.
So 2:20 to go in the game. This is a must-win situation for Australia. It will be extremely difficult to end up in the gold medal game if they lose this one, having lost by 1 to Japan.
Well, it's really out of their, if they don't win this one, I think it's out of their hands. They have to rely on other teams to win games,
and,
which is not what you ever want.
No. Here comes Riley Batt, just over 2 minutes to go. Bond crossing in front, creates a bit of an opening. Batt goes for it, tracked down by Delagrave, but Fawcett comes over with a nice little pick, and in goes Batt. Josh Wheeler tracked down by Bond, over the top to Delagrave. Hossein not able to slow him down. Wheeler hit from behind, gets it away to Aoki, and USA scoring in the open court.
Yeah, that's as close as they've come to creating a turnover in the last few possessions. US was running out of time to get the ball over half there.
Well, that ball bobbled by Fawcett, but back into the hands of Chris Bond. Bond left side, tracked down by Wheeler. Wheeler goes down and Bond scores the try. Good try good attempt by Wheeler on that hit.
Yeah, good attempt by Wheeler, and a little bit lucky on that give and go, bobble by the low pointer. Luckily the ball bounced their way.
The bearded duo of Hossein and Ben Fawcett working wonders there.
That's right, maybe that was a condition of making the team. They had to have this injury.
Right, yeah. Here comes Delagrave now, hit hard by Bond. He's got Butler with him. Butler sets the pick. Batt tries to reach in. This time the ball knocked away. Americans recover though. Hit by Riley as Josh Wheeler gets it back to Delagrave. He's under pressure.
And then,
I'm not sure what the call is going to be here.
I think Joe used a timeout because Josh was in danger on the goal line there. Pretty reminiscent of the last goal in Rio, where unfortunately Josh was knocked out of bounds, which led to Australia winning the gold medal. So heads up play by Joe to keep possession of the ball.
And the Australians have 1 player timeout left, and I don't believe the USA has any left. So
according to the scoreboard, that's their last one. So if that's accurate.
With a minute 20 to go in the game here, a 1 point lead for USA. They have possession.
16 seconds to go on the shot clock, so there's a big chance to get a turnover here if they can.
Aoki with the ball finds number 10, Josh Wheeler. That's a Mike Whitehead move, that post up and backing in.
Yeah, backing in.
Riley Batt now, tracked down by Aoki up to Chris Bond. Good speed by Aoki, but he just can't get chair position, and 1:04 to go in this critical game for Australia. 52-51, so a 1-point lead for USA. Australia desperately needing a turnover. They double the inbound receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, U.S. is going to have to only break the press 1-2 more times, so they're running out of time, and they're running.
Aoki is running out of time on the getting over center, just makes it. Probably with about 1/1,000,000 of a second to spare. This time Josh Wheeler. And Aoki playing 3-on-2 with Butler against Batt and Bond. Aoki wide open, and he'll extend that lead with a nice pass over the top to Wheeler for the try. 2-goal lead, 35 seconds. Back comes Riley Batt, steaming down the right side. Hard hit against Butler. Batt needs to score in a hurry, and Australia needs the ball back. Inside to Bond, nowhere to go. Great defense by USA on the goal line. Inside to Batt, lucky to receive that back again, and Australia turns the ball over. A little bit of frenetic play by from Team Australia as Bond is on the ground.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that turnover is going to signal the end of Australia's chances of having a comeback here. U.S. ball, 12 seconds to go.
The number 2 team in the world will earn some ranking points in this tournament for sure, as the number 1 team will be in tough to make it to the finals.
Yeah, it's going to keep us guessing as to who's going to finish where heading into Worlds. A little, it's nice to not, in wheelchair rugby, quite often, the team that's ranked higher is the team that wins. There's not a lot of upsets. You can't have a goalie steal the game for you in this sport.
Well, the pools are set, I believe, for Australia already.
Yeah, they've got Japan and Sweden are the highest ranked teams in their pool, so.
And that'll do it. Coach Frost, a 54-51 victory for the USA over Australia in this critical sort of must-win match. What was the difference in that game? How did the USA end up with that margin of victory?
I'm gonna say the difference in that game was just really Australia's inability to score against the key. Obviously, as we watched the game, the Australian team struggled and had a few turnovers. After, at the beginning of the second quarter, they took control of the game and got that couple-goal lead, and then, so good decision-making by the coach to put his team in the key. You could see that the Australians were struggling, and at least they got something to work on heading into the
That's true, yes. Never hurts to lose going into a big championship, because it keeps you keeps you humble. Up next at 1:30 on SportsCanada.TV, 1:30 Pacific Daylight Time, that is. It's a European battle. Denmark will take on Sweden, and that'll be followed by USA's second game of the day against Team Japan. And that'll be another, boy, what a day for USA. You got Australia and Japan. Wonder who did the draw.
Yeah, no, it's a tough day for the U.S., but I'm sure they're up for the challenge, and looking forward to that game between those two teams. It should be very exciting.
Australia draws Sweden at 5:30, and then at 7:30 Pacific, Canada will take on Team Japan in a what could be called a must-win for Canada if they want to make it into that elite sort of ranking level.
Yeah, well, you certainly want to be playing for a medal on Sunday, so Canada has done a good job beating Sweden and Denmark so far, so putting themselves in a good spot to get there. And now they're going to measure themselves against what are probably the top 3 teams in the world heading into Worlds.
For SportsCanada.TV here at the 2018 Canada Cup for Wheelchair Rugby, I'm Coach Tim Frick alongside Coach Adam Frost. We are your commentators for today's game, and that'll do it. USA with a very critical 54-51 victory over Australia. We'll see you at 1:30 for Denmark against Sweden.